to week 6 of Unleash the Power of Your Extraordinary Life. Thank you so very much for joining us again. So, the same procedure as every week. You're going to read this out with me. There we go. It's actually working. Okay, so do we remember the 4 pillars of success? The 4 legs of our table? Can you read that out for me? The 4 pillars of success are: knowledge creates awareness. Awareness enables clarity. Clarity fuels action, and action will change my life. So it is my sincere desire that you are getting some clarity in your life, and that is translating into the action that will actually really change things for you. That is my sincere desire. So we also know that it is what is on the inside of me that determines my performance and the quality and results of my life. So can you read the next slide out with me, please? The 5 ingredients that determine more than 80% of whether you're living an extraordinary life or ordinary life or in an extraordinary life are 5 fingers, 5 ingredients. Number 1, my mind. 2,
my emotions.
Emotions. 3,
my
body, spirit, and fantastic. Well done. Now, within this program, there are a couple of sessions that really make a big difference to, well, my clients and all the people I present this to. And tonight is one of those sessions. What we're going to do tonight, if you take this on board, if you create clarity for yourself, then tonight's session will change things dramatically for you. And so what we are going to speak about is to gain advantage from your unpleasant emotional experiences. How to gain advantage from your unpleasant emotional experience. How to make those unpleasant emotional experiences an ally for success for you. Does that sound exciting? It is. Okay, so I'll just show you how it all fits into our grand scheme of things. We've got spiritual being. You've got a mind, a body. What's down here? Emotions. Well done. Up there? Life. Brilliant. So we started with the basics of emotions after we spoke about the mind. Yes? So we spoke about the conscious and the subconscious mind. Then we spoke about the basics of emotions. Last week we spoke about feeling good and the fact that you have a responsibility to feel good. And so tonight, we're going to speak about your unpleasant emotional experiences and how to take advantage of them. So, do you remember last week I said every single one of you have a responsibility to feel good? Yes, you remember all that? And the week before I said one of my clients' brothers was seeing a psychologist and she said, you know, you really have the right to feel good. And I said, no, it's not the right. It's a responsibility. It's up to you to make yourself feel good. Do you remember all that? And so I said you need to feel good because when you do feel good, everything in your life is better, right? Your performance is better, your experience of life is better, the quality of your life and all of that is better. Do you all agree with that? Excellent. Now, if that's the case, why on earth do we have the ability to experience unpleasant emotions? Like if everything in life's better when you're feeling good, why can we feel not so good? That's a really good question. Do you agree? Well, I'm going to tell you the answer. You're really lucky. So if every aspect of your life is better when you feel good, why do you have the ability to experience unpleasant emotions? So that is part of the answer. Unpleasant emotions are not, in fact, designed to spoil your life. They are designed to help you. But I'm going to show you how to use your unpleasant emotional experiences as your ally and how you can take advantage of them, how you can get those unpleasant emotional experiences to assist you in life. Before I do, I want you to imagine something with me. So if I asked you to do me a favor and to deliver a letter for me, for someone who lives 5 blocks away from you, and you didn't have a car, you had no transport, and so you had the letter and you agreed to deliver it for me, and I also gave you a bicycle, but you did not know how to ride a bicycle. Would that bicycle be an advantage or a disadvantage to you? If you didn't know how to ride the bicycle though, if you didn't know how to use the bicycle, what would you end up doing? You'd end up pushing it along, right? And that would make it harder for you to get from where you live 5 blocks away to deliver the letter. It wouldn't in fact make it easier or quicker for you. It would make it much harder because you would end up pushing the bike or carrying the bike, so it would add to your load. Does that make sense? But if I gave you the letter and I gave you a bicycle and I ensured that you knew how to ride a bicycle, would that make the trip much easier? Absolutely. Now, your unpleasant emotional experiences are like that. They are the bicycle that you've been given, but unless you actually know how to ride a bicycle, you're going to end up carrying it or pushing it along, and it's going to get a bit heavy uphill. Does that make sense? So I'm going to show you how to ride the bicycle of your unpleasant emotional experiences tonight. Is that kind of exciting? Yes, it is. It's extremely exciting. So let's then see why we have the ability to experience unpleasant emotions. And really there are 6 reasons. And this is big, you should write them down. The 6 reasons why you have the ability to experience unpleasant emotions are: number 1, they keep you safe. Number 2, they help you build relationships with other people. I'll read through them and I'll also give you a moment to write them down fully. But number 3 is to become more effective and productive. Number 4, they help you uncover your bad programs in your subconscious mind. Number 5, they help you to develop personal strength and power. And number 6, to grow into being the most powerful you that you can be. Okay, so the 6 reasons why you can actually experience unpleasant emotions are those 6 reasons. And I just draw your attention to the last 2. Often people ask me, what is the difference between people who perform really well in life and people who do not do so well and who struggle? And there is one answer, and it is the inner strength and capacity of people. That makes the real difference. The inner strength and capacity of a person determines their performance. So if I were to say to you, yes, the inner strength and capacity of a person is really important, it will determine your performance, and I gave you something that increased that inner strength and capacity, would that be a good thing? Yes, it would. And that is what unpleasant emotional experiences are. They help you become stronger. So, how does that work? Now, I'm going to explain to you the process. But first of all, I'll just draw your attention to one more thing. Why are these experiences unpleasant? Because they are designed to draw your attention to what's going on. They're designed to grab your attention. So they're unpleasant so that you can pay attention to them. Does that make sense? Because are emotions conscious or subconscious? Subconscious, that's right. So here we go. This is what to do when you experience an unpleasant emotion. How can you in fact take advantage of these emotions and ensure that they work for you and that they're potent allies of achievement for you? This is what you do. Write this down. Every unpleasant emotion carries a message. Every unpleasant emotion carries a message for you. A really important message. And they indicate one of 2 things. Either you have a bad program in your subconscious mind, or a valid message about you or your environment or something that's going on in your life. And I'm going to go through, I'm going to use examples and explain how that works really, really clearly, but also I'm going to show you what the emotions are saying to you. What is fear saying? What is overwhelm saying? What does it mean when you feel stressed? What does it mean when you're lonely? What is the message? So we're going to step through the messages. So basically, every time you feel an unpleasant emotion, it's telling you one of two things. Either you have a bad program that you need to reprogram with your personal power statements, or there's a valid message about your life, and I'll tell you what the messages are. I'll make that really, really simple for you. Can you follow that? So it's either bad program or a real message, yes? So I'll just give you an example to explain that. If I were to hear a dog barking far away, 3 blocks away, and I feel fearful, am I in any real danger from that dog? No. So that really indicates that I have a bad program regarding dogs. Does that make sense? That fear response that I'm feeling just in hearing the sounds of dogs barking is not actually real. There is no real dog standing there. But if that was the case, if there was a big dog standing in the corner showing his teeth and barking, and I feel fearful, is that a good thing? Yes, because I am in real danger. Does that make sense? So that fear response is carrying a valid message about me, my environment, my life, my situation right at this point. And I'm going to show you what the message of fear is, what the message of frustration and so forth are. All the messages, we'll talk about them in a moment. So just to make the distinction, we're either going to uncover a bad program or a real message, or maybe even a combination of the two. Does that make sense? Everyone still following me? Excellent. So let's move on. So what to do when you experience an unpleasant emotion? So number 1, here you go, you feel the feeling. And it's not a good feeling. You're feeling an unpleasant emotion. Now, this unpleasant emotion, like all emotions, are subconscious. So all you know is you have this uneasy feeling, yes? And so it isn't a good feeling because it's designed to grab your attention, to say, hold on here a minute, there's something going on and you need to heed the message. You need to be listening to this. So you feel the feeling. That's step 1. Become aware of this unpleasant emotion. Step 1. Step 2, remember we said when you feel a feeling, you won't necessarily be able to name the feeling unless you think about what you're feeling, yes? So that is step 2. You think about what you're feeling because you want to name that feeling. So it's going to be, I'm using fear just as an example, or stress, or loneliness, or overwhelm, grief. I've got a whole list. You get the picture, yes? So number 1, become aware of the feeling. Number 2, ask yourself the question, what is this feeling? Name it. I'm depressed, or I'm sad, or I'm fearful, I'm anxious, I'm frustrated. You name the feeling. And then you ask the question, is this feeling giving me a real message about my life, or is it pointing to a bad program? Is there a dog in the room, or is the dog 3 miles away? And depending on the context of the situation, once you get the hang of this, it's actually quite easy to do, and you'll very quickly be able to uncover whether it's a bad program, in which case you go and you do reprogram your subconscious mind, or whether it's a valid message. So we're going to go either bad program or a valid message about you, your life, your circumstances, and so forth. So just to track back, these slides are just explaining that. So you identify what it is, you ask what's the message, and then you decide, is it a bad program or is it a valid message? And then you get to the best part. You take action. Can you see that? Large letters, because this is the most important bit. If you get to step 2, or this is actually step 3, where you say it's a bad program or it's a valid message, and you do nothing, are you going to move back to feeling good? No, you're going to get stuck. And this is where most people are. They get stuck in their unpleasant emotional experiences. They get stuck in feeling not so good, and they're only meant to feel that way for 5 to 10% of their time on earth. Yet, because they don't take action, because they don't know what to do, they get stuck in that feeling. It's like being stuck with a bicycle that you can't ride, and you're dragging it along with you, and it's slowing you down, and it's dragging you down. Does that make sense? Brilliant. Now, you take action based on either what the message is or the program. What happens if it's a bad program? Follow the same steps as you did in week 2 when we spoke, week 3 when we spoke about the subconscious mind. You define a better program in the first person, present tense, positive. I know that dogs are friendly companions. In my dog example. Does that make sense? And I keep telling myself that until I reprogram my subconscious mind. And so that's easy. You do personal power statements. That's an action, yes? And how can we do them? We say them, we visualize them, we put them on CD, we write them down, we go and do them, yes? So you get, when it's a bad program, you get what to do? Right, so this is the easy thing. I'm going to show you what the messages are for all of those unpleasant emotional experiences. That when you get to in a situation where it's not a bad program, you want to understand what the message is. Yes? Excellent. So let me show you what they are. So it's a bit exciting. So, what are your unpleasant emotions telling you about your life? Many of the common unpleasant emotions carry particular universal messages. So whenever you feel fearful, the message, and it's not a bad program, the message here is the same. So as we've been using fear as our example, I'll deal with fear first. Whenever you feel fear, good picture, whenever you feel fear, the message is, write this down, if you feel fear, the message is, get ready and prepare. Get ready and prepare. Get ready and prepare. So this slide is just reiterating these steps. So you become aware of the feeling in your body, you use your conscious mind to identify the experience, you allow your conscious mind to discover what you're fearful of. So you say, is this whatever, is the dog really in the room or is it a mile away? No, the dog's really in the room. What is that telling me? Get ready to run or prepare to jump or call someone, do something, get ready and prepare for a dog attack. Does that make sense? If you have a big test coming your way and you're starting to feel fearful, what does that mean? Get ready and prepare for the test by doing what? Studying. Is that going to help to reprogram your subconscious mind in that point, saying, I am confidently passing the test? Not as much as actually studying, yes? So you need to do the appropriate action depending on the situation. If you get a letter from the tax office saying that you're being audited, and that fearful feeling starts to get hold of your body, what does that mean? Get ready and prepare for your audit. Yes? Work appraisal. You know, you have appraisal at work, feeling fearful, what do? Get ready and prepare. You don't have a bad program. You need to do something. And so once you've taken the action, then my very favorite step, you return to feeling good. Because you have a responsibility to feel good. Does that make sense? Okay, so fear. Get ready and prepare. That's the message. Just a couple of other things about fear. When you feel fearful and you have done everything you can to get ready and prepare, what do you do then? You cultivate an optimistic belief that everything's going to turn out well. And that's where you need to program your mind. Because will it work to your advantage to be pessimistic about the outcome of something? No. Research shows that people who are pessimistic about their future often don't have a good future, because subconsciously they contribute to future not turning out so well. Does that make sense? Now, the other thing that I've found is that fear is often the foundation for skepticism and stress and anger. People present and they're really angry, but below that anger is fear. Or they're really skeptical about something, below that skepticism is fear. Or they're really, really stressed, and below that stress is fear. And the message is always the same: get ready and prepare. For whatever it is that you're fearful for, get ready and prepare. Or if it's not a real valid message about your life, go and retrain your subconscious mind. Can you see how easy this is? But let me tell you, just as easy as it is to ride a bicycle once you know how, it is going to take a couple of times going through this process for you to get the hang of it. But once you do, if you engage in this, you're going to know what to do, how to get it done, and how to return to feeling good. And I don't want any of you to get stuck in an unpleasant emotional experience, because it doesn't add to the quality of your life. Does that make sense, everyone? Everyone with me? Fantastic. So let's move on to the next slide. Upset, hurt, and rejection. Anyone felt any of these before? Just once or twice, maybe? Yes? Upset, hurt, and rejection. What is the message? The message is examine your expectations and needs. Who's ever expected their partner to do something and they did not deliver and they feel upset, hurt, and rejected? Yes? Where does that upset, hurt, and rejection come from? From your initial expectation. Does that make sense? And so it's very, very useful to go back to that expectation and say, okay, no, this is a bit of a silly example, but I was really expecting flowers that day, and he didn't deliver, and so he doesn't love me. And forget about the fact that he had a full-on day and things were going wrong and blah-de-blah-de-blah. Yes? So going to examine my expectations, I can then go, maybe my expectation was a bit unrealistic there. And so we can change your expectations. So, few things about rejection, hurt, and upset. Number one, remember, you are always teaching people how to treat you. You're always teaching people how to treat you. So if you go from relationship to relationship to relationship, you're always experiencing the same upset, hurt, and rejection. And I don't mean necessarily intimate relationships, I mean all relationships. Do you know what? You are not doing a very good job at teaching people how to treat you well. Does that make sense? If every relationship you're in ends up in upset, hurt, and rejection, then you need to just examine how you are helping other people mistreat you. How are you allowing that to happen? Secondly, examine your expectations of other people. Now, this is what I always say. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And I don't know, women do this all the time. We have this optimistic, hopeful thing that what we can really see is happening isn't really happening. And so when someone shows you who they are the first time, believe them. Believe them. Because is that going to help you set your expectations? Yes. And is that also going to help you going to there's a point there that you should examine whether you should actually be involved with this person. So if someone shows you that they're really not a nice person to be around, should you keep pursuing that relationship? No, not really. Not really, unless there's a really, really good reason for it. Because it's not going to help you feel good. It's going to take away from the quality of your life. Now, I want to draw your attention to the last one here. Treat yourself as you want others to treat you. That is probably the most important line in all of this. If you want other people to respect you, you need to respect yourself first. Does that make sense? Because other people pick up on your clues and your cues and they go, this person obviously, if I'm respecting myself, you'll think, oh, this person obviously has some reason to be respected, so I'll respect her too, or him too. But if I have no respect for myself, no one else will. If I have no love for me, then other people will also find it a bit harder to love me. Does that make sense? Good. Would you like just a minute more to write this down? All good. Can I move on? Good. Loneliness. Who is often lonely? No one here? That's excellent. We don't have time to be lonely. We want to be alone just for a minute. I'll tell you loneliness anyway. So the message for loneliness is build a relationship with someone. And what you do is you ask yourself the question, so what kind of relationship is it that I require? Am I looking for a friend? Am I looking for a partner? Am I looking for just a companion? What kind of relationship am I looking for? And then you go, and I don't know if any one of you have a marketing background, but I always use the marketing conversation with my clients. So who's your target market? So you want a partner? Okay, let's look at who that is for you. And we go where they are in the same way as you would market. So you go where they are, you speak the language they do, and you get into their mind and you find that partner. Does that make sense? Also, when you're feeling lonely, I always think that it's such a great idea to use what you have to contribute to others. So if you need a friend, be a friend. If you want to have friends, be friendly. And so if you're lonely and you like baking, bake a cake, take it to someone else who's lonely, and just give something, and you'll receive the same in return. Does that make sense? So let's see. Identify someone or a group with whom you can build a relationship. Start spending time with another human being when you're lonely. Always have something to contribute to others. We all have something that we can contribute. Even if it's a smile, a hug, a sympathetic ear. Just to be nice. Just be nice. When we feel lonely, this is the interesting bit. When we experience these unpleasant emotional experiences, often our first instinctive response is to do the opposite of what we should be doing. So you're hurt and rejected, and so instead of examining your expectations and making yourself nicer to be with so that people don't want to reject you, you withdraw and you become naggy and so forth, yes? So you make it even worse. The same with loneliness. So you're lonely, you wouldn't go and build a relationship. Your natural response is not to go out, but to withdraw. And so I want you to use this system and to retrain yourself so that you can actually take advantage of these unpleasant emotional experiences to gain those 6 advantages that we spoke about initially. Let's move on to the next one. Incompetence, inadequate, and useless. Incompetent, inadequate, and useless. So if you are experiencing any of the 3 not so pleasant emotions, then you should start getting really excited. Because if you are feeling incompetent, inadequate, or useless, do you know what the message is? Improve! Improve, grow, and become better. If you're feeling incompetent at work, what should you do? Train. Yes? Go and read something. Go and Google it. Go and find more information. Become better. So remember how we said these unpleasant emotional experiences will help you become more powerful and stronger within yourself? It'll build your inner strength and capacity. This is one of the ways in which that'll happen for you. If you're feeling incompetent in any area of your life, define what it is and go and improve in that area so that you can get stronger and better. Now, I just draw your attention to one thing. Okay, so let's quickly read through this. Do something that will improve your performance, undertake training, start reading about the subject, learn and grow. And this is the point that I want to draw your attention to. 1 in 5 people are perfectionists. They are our high-performing individuals anyway. And the irony of the matter is, it's them that never feel like they're doing a good enough job. So if you are one of those, then it's good to come to terms with that feeling because it's probably not going to go away. It goes with the territory. If you're really task-orientated, and we'll talk about this again, there's a bunch of people in society, about 20% of people, who are very task-orientated. They have higher standards than anyone else. And if you fall into that category, you're going to be outperforming the 80%, but you are in fact going to feel like you're not doing a good enough job all the time. And so if you're one of those, it's good to know that about yourself and to question it when you think that you're not doing so well. Okay? Anyone with me? No, everyone with me. So use the opportunity to become more powerful. Grief and loss. Grief and loss. The message is somewhat obvious, that you have lost someone or something valuable to you. And grief and loss is a tricky one. And this is what you do. Tell yourself that the quickest way through grief and loss is to go slow. If you have lost something or someone who's really valuable to you, you're not going to get through that in 5 minutes. And that's okay. Allow yourself to feel the feeling. Allow yourself to come to terms with what has happened. Move through the stages of grief, and I'll show you what the stages are in just a second. And if it's someone that you've lost, then live in celebration of a past loved one's life and not in the sadness of their death. Live in celebration of other people's lives. Okay, and here is my lovely little graph. Don't you like that? That's a good picture. So here you go. These are the stages, and I'll just step you through them because you can't see them very, very well. But there are 7 stages to grief and loss. So this is the process that most or all people will go through if they're really going to work their way out of grief and loss. So the first stage is something when you lose someone or something, the first stage is denial and confusion. And when you feel that way or someone close to you feels that way, that is right. That's how they should be feeling. Secondly, you move to where you blame others and you get angry. And then you move to where you start bargaining with yourself and saying that maybe it's not that bad. No, it is really bad. And you come to a place where you feel really sad, or you might even start feeling depressed. So the person is, in that sense, very, very sad. And then you're going to move upwards again and you start testing. So you start saying, well, maybe I can get through this. Maybe I can get on with my life. Maybe there is hope. Maybe I can come to terms with what has happened. And you move up to number 6, which is acceptance. You accept what has happened, and you move up to integration and moving on and living in celebration and not in sadness. Does that make sense? Excellent. Now, the next one is one that I think that most of my clients experience, and I'm sure most people in this room experience too. And I'm hoping not too often, but probably more often than you would like. And it's called overloaded or overwhelmed. So who often feels overwhelmed? Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. Would you like to know what the message is? Yeah? The message is you do not have a clear and workable action plan of what, how, when, and whom something needs to, or by whom something needs to be done. And obviously you are taking on too much at one time. Does that mean that you shouldn't be taking on a lot? No, that does mean that you should improve your ability to manage many tasks and maybe to delegate and make clear action plans. So I'll show you how to do that. So the action to take is make a master list of everything that you need to do. About once a quarter, when I've tested and measured this, about once a quarter, with every single one of my clients, I show up for a session and they are not looking very well. About once in 3 months, and they are completely overwhelmed. And every time we go through the same process, and it starts with, let's make a master list of everything that you need to do. Everything, just brainstorm. In no particular order, just write it down. Write down everything that you have to do or that you're responsible for. Even if you have to delegate that on, if you're responsible for it, write it down. So you see how you need to take action with all of these emotions. You take action to return to feeling good. Okay, so that's the first action you take with feeling overwhelmed. Then you divide that list into 2 sections. Things you can and must do, and things you can't do. Have you ever heard I don't even know what it is, a little proverb or something, God give me the grace to know the things I can change and to accept the things I can't? And sometimes it's a bit like that. There are things that you can do, pardon?
Oh, and the strength to carry on something.
And the strength to carry on, yeah, that's right. And that is often the case in this. So you have 2 lists. Yes, some stuff you can manage and some stuff you can't. And so you divide the master list into 2 of those lists. And then you prioritize the list that you actually can and should attack. And you schedule time and deadlines. And if you have the luxury of delegating to someone, do that. Delegate as much as you can. Okay, everyone right with writing it down? Okay, so take action, then you just do it. Now this up here is really, really important. Once you've moved through the place where you're feeling overwhelmed, overloaded, some people even feel like that is stress. They'll define that as stress, that feeling of overwhelm. Once all of that tension's built up in your body, even when you take the action, is that going to make you feel better? No. And so this is really, really important. Vigorous exercise. And when I say vigorous, I mean vigorous. Like run as fast as you can, for as far as you can, until you collapse in a heap. And when you get up from that heap, you'll feel much, much better. You'll just get rid of all of that tension in your body. And I even had one client running in his business suit once. This guy, you have to run. I'm sorry, you have to just go. And he just ran in his business suit, collapsed in a heap, got up and felt so much better. Bit sweaty, but you know, you get that. And then learn to say no. Sometimes you do just have to learn to say, I just cannot take that on. No, I'm sorry, no. And also schedule time to rest and relax. And we're back to the circle. You know, the circle of life, not doing too much of anything, but doing enough of everything, getting that balance right. Okay, can we move on to the next one? And it is stress. I love that picture, that is stress. Okay, the message. Your passion for life is being smothered. You're allowing some things to become more important than they really are, and you are losing perspective. Has anyone ever felt stressed? Just once or twice? And there's this question that you'll see on the board. I think it's here. Yeah, that is right. Let me just quickly move on to this saying, a limited level of stress is good. We all perform better when we're under a little bit of stress. Have you noticed? When you're stressed, all of a sudden something just clicks and you can focus. And you can get through a whole heap of work really quickly. Or if you're writing an exam, the half an hour or the hour or the day before the exam, you can get through twice as much as you got through the previous weeks or whatever. Have you noticed that? So a little bit of stress is really good for you. But if that's prolonged, then it sucks the life out of you. And so if you are in such a situation where you're so stressed that you're losing all perspective on life, then the question is this really worth losing my health over? Is this really worth losing my health over? And honestly, I'm yet to find someone who says yes. Is this worth whatever's stressing you out? Is that worth losing your health over? No. What's more important than living a healthy life and being able to go on? Because if you get sick, then you can't do anything anyway. Like all the other things are less important when you're really sick. So you need to also then go back to the overwhelm and overloaded and do that, go through the list. So that's what you do when you have stress. But then you also cultivate a positive perspective about your future, as we've spoken before, and you act your way out of stress in the same way as you act your way out of overwhelm and overload. They go hand in hand. Does that make sense? And so, again, for stress though, you can undertake vigorous exercise, but if you're really stressed, undertaking moderate exercise over time is better. Now, remember, you have a responsibility to feel good. You have a responsibility to feel good. So, before I move into the next slides, I just want to quickly take you through this again. So you feel the bad feeling, you become aware of it. You say, what is the message? Is it a bad program or is it a real or valid message about my life? If it's a bad program, what do? Personal power statements. You say them, you write them, you listen to them, you visualize them, you act them. Yes? If it is a real and valid message about your life, you say, what am I feeling? What is the message? So I'm feeling fearful. The message is, can you remember? Say it with me. Get ready and prepare. I'm feeling fearful. The dog's about to attack. I'm ready to run. Yes? And so I take the action. I run away. And I return to feeling good. Because you have a responsibility to feel good. So important. 90% of your life you should be feeling good. Excellent. Now here is my quick reference guide, which you can't see very well, and I apologize for it, but I'll quickly step you through the emotions that we have, and you can select, if we have a few more minutes, so you can select a few to speak about. The first one's anger, anxiety, bitterness and jealousy, feelings of mild depression, disappointment, doubt. Oh, can I select doubt? I'll stop. Doubt, fear and doubt. Whenever you move into anything that's new, do you know what you'll feel? Doubt. Is that a problem? Only if you allow that doubt to stop you. Every time you move into somewhere, a place, a venture, a relationship you haven't been in before, doubt will be there with you. It's the companion of new things. And do you know what? It's okay. You can feel the doubt and do it anyway. Do not let that doubt stop you. Is everyone with me? So just, I'll tell you about this in a sec. So embarrassment, there's another one that I really want to speak to you about. Frustration. Who often feels frustrated? The message of frustration is try a different way. Try a different way. Who's heard the definition of insanity? Trying the same thing and expecting a different result. Trying harder. Oh, and somehow that's what we do. We think that if we just try harder, if we just get this right, the outcome will be completely different. And that is, in fact, not the case. So if you are feeling frustrated, what do you need to do? Try something else. Try a different way. Try a different way. Grief and loss, guilt and regret, hate, inadequacy, we've spoken about that. Loneliness, we've spoken about overwhelm and rejection and hurt. Stress, upset, and that's it. So are there any one of those that you'd like me to deal with specifically? Does anyone want to nominate one? Can I pick? Okay, good. So let's go back. Failure. Feelings of failure. That says, whenever you feel failure, the message is you have a lesson to learn. There's something to learn. The only failure is to fail to learn the lesson. So if you've tried something and it hasn't worked, is that the end of the world? No, not at all. When you feel like a failure, in a sense, that's a celebration because you know what not to do. You're much closer to getting it right because you can know which actions to cross off the list. Okay, so when you're feeling a failure, as long as it doesn't stop you, failures can't stop you. The only person who can stop you from doing something is you. So as long as you keep going, a failure is really there to help you because it gives you valuable feedback about your life and about what you need to do. So if you learn the lesson now, and this is something I use all the time, I myself do not like failing that much. I'm sure that comes as a shock to you all, but failure isn't high on my priority list. And so whenever I have a failure, I always have this one thing that I say to myself, Elize, learn the lesson so that you never have to go through this again. Just learn whatever it is to learn so that you never have to feel like this again. And so that really helps because as you move through life and you learn the lessons become a little bit fewer and farther in between. Is that right? Fewer and further, whatever, farther in between. So that's really important. And it's only a failure if you fail to learn the lesson. So feel encouraged if you've tried something, even though it hasn't worked. Doesn't matter, you're one step closer to achieving what you want to learn. So no failure can stop you, only you can stop you. If you learn and apply the lesson, you're right. So by the way, who would like these messages, the unpleasant emotions, the messages and what to do? Would you all like a copy of this? Yeah. Okay, so I've got great news for you. This comes with my book. The last one that I do want to deal with today, I know we've dealt with doubt. The last one I do want to deal with today is anxiety. I won't ask the question who feels anxious often, but it's not a very pleasant feeling, is it, to feel anxious? And so when we feel anxious, it really is all about the feeling that something bad might happen or something that we might not be able to cope with. Yes? And so you really need to look at what you are anxious about. And you have to ask the question, what is it that I'm hoping won't happen? Because sometimes our minds have this ability to think about things that will actually never happen. Yes? Worry, feel anxious about things that will never happen. But if it's something that's real, what do you need to do? What does anxiety often go hand in hand with? Fear. Fear. And so what's the message of fear? Get ready and prepare. So if you're anxious, Christmas around the corner, if you're anxious about your mother-in-law's visit, what do you need to do? Get ready and prepare. Yes? Or the family coming over. Let me just check that I've dealt with all of it. No. anxiety. Get ready and prepare for the anticipated event. Focus and figure out how to deal with the change. Recall the reality that most things you've been anxious about never happen. And this is so important. Most things we feel anxious about actually never ever happen. Yet, you're feeling anxious in the now, ruining the experience of your now about something that might never occur. Is that a clever thing to do? No. So what do you need to do? Pull yourself up, yes? And pull yourself out of that anxiety and think, well, is this really likely to occur, or is this just my mind not being so disciplined as it could be? And remember how I said you are in fact not your mind. So if you find your mind's thinking about everything that can go wrong in your future, you need to start disciplining and mastering your mind and thinking good thoughts, doing positive personal affirmations, positive personal statements. What are they called? Power statements. And to discipline your mind in that way. Does that make sense? Excellent. So, I think I won't deal with all of these because you can read the book and get them all from the book. So what I will say though is, and get to the end, every emotional experience you have is valuable. You do not have a single experience for no reason. Every emotional experience is valuable, but it's up to you to apply this system and work out what's going on. Work out how to take advantage of it. Work out what the message is and what the appropriate action is to take. And when you take the action, you should be returning to feeling good because you have a responsibility to feel good. And so, thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you next week. Thank you.